Hello guys, welcome to my presentation on COVID-19, Misinformation and Disinformation Awareness Program. My outline is as follows. Introduce the topic and discuss the purpose of my program. Define misinformation and disinformation. Discuss their impact on various aspects of life and health. Discuss concepts related to this topic such as field bubbles. Provide some strategies and resources on stopping misinformation and disinformation, and provide a call to action. In March 2020, World Health Organization declared the novel coronavirus outbreak a global pandemic. By this time, the number of cases outside China has more than doubled. This was a novel disease that no one was hardly prepared to combat. Although some had already adopted the proposed preventive mechanism such as wearing the mask, so many people were still in the dark due to various barriers such as literacy and finance reasons. People were afraid of the worst, and as the number of deaths started to increase across the globe, the worst had already kicked in: the massive COVID-19 misinformation and disinformation. When emergencies occur, we all want to get the right information from the responsible authorities. This is why we all turn to communication channels. Simon et al. Claim that information sharing and coordination are critical elements in disaster management. They explain why some platforms such as social media channels have become so crucial during disasters. They provide access to relevant and timely information, facilitating a feeling of connectedness, and this was also clear during the COVID-19 pandemic. During COVID-19 pandemic, there was a massive growth in social media users, one of the main sources of news during the emergencies per Simon et al. But then this also came with another very critical issue: the massive misinformation and disinformation about the virus and the pandemic. The above figure shows the growth of various social media platforms between 2019 and 2021 per Statista. The purpose of the presentation is broken down into three clear objectives that will help guide the rest of the content. The first objective emphasizes the importance of raising awareness about the issue. The second objective focuses on identifying common examples of disinformation and misinformation. The third objective provides actionable strategies for spotting and debunking false claims. The third objective provides actionable strategies for spotting and debunking false claims. According to American Psychological Association, misinformation is false or inaccurate information. Examples including rumors, insults, and pranks. Disinformation, on the other hand, is deliberate and includes malicious content like propaganda, which mostly spreads fear and suspicion among people. Misleading information about vaccines. There have been various false claims about the safety and efficacy of COVID-19 vaccines, including claims that they can cause infertility and miscarriage or contain harmful chemicals. False information about transmission. There have been various false claims about how the virus is transmitted, including claims that it can be spread through 5G networks or that masks are effective in preventing transmission. So the two examples we talk about is about COVID misinformation, and the next two examples we're going to talk about COVID disinformation. False claims about the effectiveness of treatments. There have been numerous false claims about various treatments for COVID-19, including unproven drugs, supplements, and home remedies. Conspiracy theories about the origins of the virus. There have been various conspiracy theories about the origins of the virus, including false claims that it was intentionally created in a laboratory in Wuhan or that it is part of a larger globalist agenda. And other conspiracy theories are 5G narrative, Gates vaccine narrative, and laboratory development narrative. 5G narrative. This conspiracy theory claims that the rollout of 5G wireless technology is responsible for the spread of COVID-19. Some proponents of this theory believe that the virus is being transmitted through 5G network, while others argue that the radiation from 5G weakens the immune system and makes people more susceptible to the virus. Gates vaccine narrative. This conspiracy theory centers around Bill Gates, who's accused of using the COVID-19 pandemic as a way to push his own agenda, which includes the vaccination of the entire world population. Some proponents of this theory believe that the vaccines contain microchips that will be used for tracking or that they are part of a larger plot to depopulate the planet. Laboratory development narrative. This conspiracy theory suggests that the COVID-19 virus was developed in a laboratory, either internationally or unintentionally, and then released into the population. Some proponents of this theory believe that the virus was developed as a bioweapon, while others argue that it was a result of accidental release from a laboratory. US and China officials all have constantly used this narrative against each other. Some claim the COVID-19 was linked to the 5G network. Others claim that vitamin C was an effective treatment for the virus. There were those that claim the fact they have never been sick of the flu despite not have been vaccinated for the same before was proof that COVID-19 vaccine was also unnecessary. Then there are those that wrongfully claim that gargling salt water would prevent COVID-19. The list goes on and on. Why is COVID disinformation or misinformation a problem? Here are some consequences. Vaccination. Misinformation about COVID-19 vaccines can discourage people from getting vaccinated, which can make it harder to achieve herd immunity and prolong the pandemic. This can also lead to more deaths and serious illness. Social unrest. Disinformation or misinformation can cause social unrest and lead to the spread of conspiracy theories, which can undermine public trust in institutions and exacerbate existing social tensions. Economic impact. Misinformation can lead to the spread of rumors and misinformation that can cause economic damage. For example, if people believe that COVID-19 is spread through certain foods, industries that rely on those foods can suffer financial losses. Political polarization. Disinformation or misinformation can fuel political polarization and undermine democratic institutions, which can have long-term consequences for the functioning of society. The most impacted aspect of life was public health. Nelson et al. Note that Though pandemics cause mental health problems like depression, misinformation further aggravates this emotional situation even to healthcare providers. Additionally, physicians may fall prey to um, misinformation and have doubt in the validity of manuscripts from previously trusted journals. Disinformation or misinformation can erode public trust in public health institutions, including governments, public health organizations, and healthcare professionals. Misinformation can cause confusion and delay responses to the pandemic, resulting to more greater morbidity and mortality. Misinformation can lead to poor decision making by individuals, including ignoring public health recommendations or engaging in risky behaviors that increase the spread of COVID-19. Disinformation or misinformation can also contribute to disparities in health outcomes. For example, if misinformation about COVID-19 vaccines causes certain populations to be hesitant to get vaccinated, those populations may experience higher rate of COVID-19 infections and deaths. In the United States, President Donald Trump downplayed the severity of the virus and claimed that it would disappear on its own, which led to a delayed response that contributed to the country's high death toll. Mr. Trump constantly downplayed the effects of COVID-19 and its severity, saying it would go away on its own once the weather changes. This, however, caused a delayed response by the government, which caused a massive spread of the virus across the country. Pilkington notes that Trump spent about 6 months in COVID denial. The Washington Post showed that over 600,000 people could have lost their lives due to Trump's delayed response to the COVID-19 outbreak. And as Trump constantly regarded the coronavirus as a Chinese virus, many Chinese individuals in the United States were met with exceeding hatred, getting blamed as the cause of the pandemic. Next section, we're going to talk about field bubbles and COVID-19. Field bubbles can make it difficult to address COVID-19 disinformation or misinformation, as individuals may only be exposed to information that confirms their existing beliefs. In order to combat this, it's important to actively seek out diverse perspectives and sources of information. This can mean intentionally seeking out sources that challenge our beliefs, fact-checking information before sharing it, and being aware of the potential for bias in the news or information we consume. It's also important to recognize that field bubbles are not just created by algorithms. We as individuals have the power to break out of our own field bubbles by seeking out diverse perspectives and being open to changing our beliefs in light of new information. By taking these steps, we can help combat COVID-19 disinformation or misinformation and contribute to a more informed and resilient public discourse. Next part is about algorithms and COVID-19 disinformation and misinformation. Algorithms play a significant role in how information is shared and consumed on social media platforms. Well, these algorithms are designed to personalize the content for each user. They can also create echo chambers and filter bubbles where false claims can spread unchecked. In the context of COVID-19, this can be particularly dangerous, as false claims about the virus and its treatments can have serious consequences for public health. As individuals, we can take steps to be more aware of how algorithms work and how they can contribute to the spread of disinformation or misinformation. For example, we can actively seek out diverse perspectives and sources of information, fact-checking information before sharing it, and report false claims to social media platforms and other relevant authorities. Deepfakes represents a new and growing threat to accurate information about COVID-19, as it can be used to spread fake claims and sow confusion and mistrust. It's important to be aware of the potential for deepfakes and to fact-check information before sharing it on social media or other platforms. There are a number of tools and resources available to help detect and debunk deepfakes, such as reverse image searchers and forensic analysis techniques. However, it's also important to recognize that the technology used to create deepfakes is rapidly evolving, and the new and more sophisticated deepfakes may be difficult to detect and debunk. As such, it's important to remain vigilant and critical of the information we consume, and to seek out reliable and trustworthy sources of information about COVID-19. So, how to spot and stop COVID-19 disinformation or misinformation? There are several strategies that people can employ to spot and stop COVID-19 misinformation or disinformation. There are several strategies that people can employ to spot and stop COVID-19 misinformation or disinformation. First is using fact-checking websites and tools that can help you quickly verify the accuracy of information you come across. Some examples include Snopes, FactCheck, and PolitiFact. When evaluating information, it's important to consider the source and its credibility. Look for information from reputable sources such as the World Health Organization or the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Also, it's always a good idea to look for multiple sources to confirm the accuracy of information. If you come across conflicting information, try to find out why and what the differences are. Misinformation and disinformation often appear to emotions, so be wary of information that seems too good or too bad to be true. These types of information often lack evidence or references, so be skeptical and look for supporting evidence could be a good way. Okay, so in conclusion, it is crucial to carefully verify information before sharing. Sharing misinformation or disinformation can amplify its reach and impact, so it's important to do your due diligence before sharing anything. People can also use various resources to spot and stop COVID-19 misinformation or disinformation. Reuters Fact Check is a fact-checking website that focuses on debunking false or misleading claims related to COVID-19 and other topics. BBC Reality Check is a fact-checking service provided by the BBC, which investigates and verifies claims made in news and other media content. The COVID-19 Fact-Checking Alliance is a collaboration between fact-checkers and journalists from around the world who are working together to combat COVID-19 misinformation. The World Health Organization COVID-19 Mythbuster page provides information on common myths and misconceptions related to COVID-19 and the latest facts and evidence. The Centers of Disease Control and Prevention COVID-19 page provides the latest information and guidance related to COVID-19, including facts and frequently asked questions. Disinformation or misinformation is a problem that affects us all, and it requires a collective effort to combat its spread. We all have a role to play in promoting accurate information and stopping the spread of false claims. By taking action and promoting accurate information about COVID-19 or any other global issue, we can help protect ourselves, our loved ones, and our communities from the harmful consequences of disinformation and misinformation. So let's work together to address this issue and promote accurate information about COVID-19. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you for your watching.